Hey guys, how are you? How's everybody? I am waiting for Mr. Chris Logan to get here. Oh, here he comes now.
All right, what's happening?
Every time I say I'm waiting for you to show up, you pop on, and there you are.
I have a sixth sense for that.
Always cutting it close, man. We gotta get some people coming in here. Hey, everybody, drop where you're from. Let's see everybody here.
Sorry, guys, I just got off a coaching call, but excited to be here, and we're going to dive into some awesome info for you guys today that's going to help you take your game to the next level in virtual wholesaling.
Hey, don't ever apologize for coaching people, right?
Yeah.
You add a lot of value.
Thans, man. Appreciate it.
Hey, Sharon, James.
I enjoy speaking to your audience. You have a great community here, and a lot of action takers. I've spoken to a lot of them one-on-one, and I love talking to your audience here. It's always a fun time.
You know, I'm just trying to bring people together. You know, I'm trying to help people succeed.
Love it. Jack.
Yeah. No, I think this is good. So we'll get going, guys. Let's give it about 30 more seconds, and we'll get rolling here.
Boom! Central Florida, Bloomfield, New Mexico, Illinois, Athens, Georgia, Long Beach, California. Oh, California is so beautiful. Love it. I used to go on. My wife and I used to vacation to California at least once a year. We used to have a mastermind out there. It was so much fun. The weather is just unbelievable. But we're kind of like in another similar state, Florida. So, I mean, Florida's great. I love it. But California just doesn't have that humidity. And it's just so beautiful.
Yeah. I was going to say you used to travel a lot, and then you had a baby.
Yeah, that kind of slows things down a little bit. Yeah, we used to go on like 4 or 5 vacations a year, and now we have a baby.
Living the life, and then you had a baby.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's so funny. You know, nothing can really prepare you for how much it slows you down, but it's 100% worth it. It's all part of the journey. You know what I mean?
Yeah. When we started having kids, we had 3 kids, all 2 years apart, right? So two, wow. Right, and that slowed us down.
It will do that. Thank you guys for throwing this party for us to learn. You're welcome, and it is going to be a party today because my commitment to all of you guys is to bring actionable content. You can take action right after we get off the call here and take that and go and do deals, right? This is no fluff. Dave and I don't hold anything back, and we're here to support you guys and help you on the journey.
We do not hold back. Okay, for those of you that haven't been here with us before, this is for my community, my wholesaling partners, a community of real estate wholesalers where I'm trying to get people to team up, go out and do business together. I recruited Mr. Chris Logan here to be our Florida ambassador and our virtual wholesaling expert because Chris has been at this for 10 years. He's done over 600 wholesale deals, and he's built a 7-figure virtual wholesaling business. So I think who better to teach this stuff to you than this guy right here.
Awesome. Thanks, Dave, for that awesome introduction. And yeah, I'm excited to be here with you guys again today. And like Dave said, I've done a few deals. And what I'm all about now, like, you know, doing deals for me is great. Love doing it. But what really jazzes me up is seeing other people go out and have success with the information I've shared with them. And Dave, again, thanks for having me as a part of the community here.
Absolutely.
And being the Florida ambassador.
All right. What you got for us today? What's on deck?
Yeah. So today, guys, what we're going to be talking about is we're going to be diving deep into my motivated seller script that we use to talk with sellers over the phone. Okay. Now, a lot of you guys who have been on calls here before, there's a lot of different types of marketing, but there's one type of marketing that I'm very passionate about. I love it. It's what we use to really scale and grow our business. And in one of our top months, we had over 22 properties under contract using this one strategy alone. So I highly recommend for you guys, I'll jump on this. And what I love about this strategy is that it's very low cost to get going, right? Very low overhead. So when you're coming into wholesaling and just getting started, you want to keep your overhead low, right? You want to do deals, then reinvest 20% of whatever you make from a wholesale deal back into the business so you can use that to go get more deals. So the strategy we're going to be talking about today, guys, is picking up the phone, right? and calling sellers, cold calling, right? There's going to be a lot of strategies that you're going to hear out there, like, oh, you know, this amazing PPC strategy, like this new AI, you know, crazy automated conversation strategy and all that stuff, guys. And I'm not saying that stuff doesn't work, but what I am telling you, when you first get started, you want to keep it simple. A lot of that stuff will cause you to sit behind a computer and fiddle faddle with it, and you'll waste a bunch of time. You won't do any deals. So what I want you to do is I want you to pick up the phone and take action. That's what I'm all about. And plus, I also have some special gifts for you guys. If you stay to the end, we have some things we're going to give you guys, some discount codes for different services, as well as my script that we're going to be going over today. So what we're going to be talking about today is exactly what to say over the phone to sellers, right? So there's a lot of you who are like, I like the idea of picking up the phone and calling sellers, but I'm really hesitant on doing that. You know, I'm really nervous about doing that. I've never made cold calls before, or I don't know what to say. Maybe the seller would, you know, think I'm new or something like that, and maybe I'd bomb the call. And so you have all these fears, right? But one of the things I'll tell you guys is this: the longer that you take to take action, between the time of thinking about something and taking action, the longer time that you spend in between there, right, the more that fear is going to build up inside you and going to create this huge obstacle in front of you where you're like, okay, maybe I don't feel like doing it today. I'm going to do it tomorrow, right? Well, guess what? There's no time like the present. Today is the day to take action, okay? So what you want to do, a little trick, is minimize that time. So you want to set aside your list. You want to set aside the time to be able to make calls. And at that time, you're going to sit down in front of your phone and go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You're going to pick up the phone. You're going to make calls, right? So that is the best way to guarantee that you're going to take action. Otherwise, you're going to continue to think about it and think about it and think about it's an amazing strategy, but never actually take any action, okay? So for those of you who haven't cold called before, that are afraid of what sellers are going to say, just understand that it's okay if you mess up in the first call. Does not matter. Not going to meet these people in the grocery store. It does not matter if you you stutter or you accidentally hang up on the seller. It doesn't matter, guys. Just move on to the next call. Don't overthink it. Don't overcomplicate it, right? It's okay to make mistakes. We all fell on our face in the beginning when we first started learning to walk, right? So it's par for the course. And the thing is, you learn from your mistakes. There's a lot of valuable gems that you can take from your mistakes that are learning lessons that you can apply to your journey that help you to grow, okay? So making mistakes and failing, those are all part of taking massive action. And if you're not failing, you're not making mistakes, then you're not taking enough action. So that being said, is that Mel Robbins technique, the 5-second rule? I don't know. I came up with it, but if some other guy has it too, then that's
somebody stole your technique. That's not cool.
Copyright infringement.
Right.
Yeah. So, but that's awesome. No, So my thing is minimizing the time, right? Because I once heard a quote by Grant Cardone. I know you guys know who he is, right? It's hard to not know who he is. And that was something that he said. He said that the way to eliminate the fear of the phone is minimizing the time between thinking about doing something and taking action, right? So I took that and came up with our own strategy that worked amazing for our coaching clients. And I basically came up with that countdown, basically, to where when you get down to 0, you pick up the phone and you take action. And man, like, it's helped so many people overcome the fear of the phone and get moving, right? Because that's what it's about. It's getting that first couple of calls out of the way, right? Where you may fumble those calls. It's just getting those out of the way as you're getting warmed up so you can get comfortable and you can make it happen, right? So that being said, I'd like to talk with you guys about what we say, because a lot of people who are calling sellers, they're like, what do I say over the phone, right? Do I just wing it? I see some guys on YouTube and they say something different every single time, right? So here's the thing. When you're making calls, okay, it's very important that you have some type of a guide or an outline, okay? You don't want to sound like Mr. Roboto when you're calling these sellers. Hi, do you have a property you want to sell? No, okay, thank you. Don't want to do that, right? You want to have some type of script or outline that you can follow so you can have the same performance on every single call, right? And the reason for that is because if you're saying the same thing on every single call, right, you're going to be able to easily figure out when you're doing something right, what works, fantastic, it's repeatable. And if you mess up, it's going to be easy to go back and point out where you messed up in the script so you can improve that moving forward and take next steps, right? But what's really difficult to scale and difficult to grow is random activity. So if one day you're like, hey, I hope I have the right phone number, is this John? And the next time you're like, hey, I hope I'm not bothering you right now, is this John? You know, like it's just, you're going to have a really hard time growing something when you're doing something different every single time. So I like to compare this to doing another type of marketing. So let's say you were trying to do some type of direct mail. You were sending out letters. And let's say you're really trying to figure out what's going on with your mail and you can't find out why you're not getting responses. So you change the letter for every single mailing, right? Well, it's going to be really hard for you to figure out like what went wrong if you're changing things constantly, right? So you want to have a simple, repeatable pattern. So it all starts with the script. So that's what we're going to be going over today. But before we get into that, the second thing you want to make sure is your tone, right? Nothing turns off sellers over the phone, right? Then again, sounding like Mr. Roboto or that you're reading a script, okay? You want to have a script, but you got to put your own personality on it, okay? People buy from people, not from robots, right? Maybe now they do because it's the future and AI and all that stuff. But you want to be a human being, right? So you want to smile while you're reading the script. You want to make sure that you're keeping the conversation flow going. You're not making it awkward. It will be awkward in the very beginning, but the better you get, the less awkward it will be, okay? And you really want to make sure, again, that you have a positive, upbeat tone, okay? You don't sound boring like this. Hey, you don't want to sell your house, do you? You don't want to do that, right? They'll hang up on you. The thing is, guys, is you have 7 seconds at the beginning of a call to capture sellers' attention. And if you don't capture their attention the first 7 seconds, they're going to hang up on you and you're not going to get the lead, right? So in order to do that, again, you have to be able to, hey, fired it up. I love that, Aaron. You have to be able to have a positive, upbeat tone. People like talking to excited, enthusiastic people. And yes, this works if you're introverted. You can be, some of my best cold callers that I have on my team were introverted types, right? Where they're not like overly enthusiastic people, right? But they're really good on the phone. Dave saw it.
I was such an introvert as a kid.
Yeah, well,
Bad.
it's okay. But you know, a lot of people think too that introverts can't be good at sales, but that is totally the opposite. In a lot of ways, introverts can even be better at sales than extroverts because of just how they handle the conversation. They're very big on asking questions, not talking a lot, and really just kind of taking in what the other person is saying and truly listening, right? So if you're an introvert, then understand that you can be successful with this too, right? So the third thing, guys, so you have to have a guide when you're calling people. We're going to go over that here in a second. You want to make sure you have an upbeat tone. That's the second thing. And the third thing is there's a reason why the phrase is called smile and die. All right. And it's because a smile can be heard through the phone. Okay. So what I want you guys to do is I want you to go on Amazon or something like that. You can get this long mirror and you can put it in front of you. And I want you to hold the phone up to your ear like this. And I want you to look at the mirror and smile. And if you have that smile, you have permission to dial, right? So you can pick up the phone and you can start dialing at that point. Because believe it or not, a smile can be heard through the phone, okay? And if you're smiling, again, that's just one more thing for you to sound more friendly, more inviting, less professional, and it makes sellers want to continue the conversation. Okay, so again, get that mirror, put it in front of you. The second thing is the tone, making sure you have a positive, like upbeat tone. And then the last one here is the script, which we're going to get into here in just a second. Okay, so let's dive into the script because you have 7 seconds, like I said, to capture their attention. Okay, so what I typically do is I open up the script by saying this. Hey, I hope I have the right phone number. Is this John? Right? And I have a little bit of a hesitant type of thing there because I want to sound different. You don't want to say, hey, I'm calling from, A to Z house buyers and I'm calling about your property and wanted to see if you would consider selling to me, right? Like you don't want to be a big professional company calling. People do not, that seems like scammy telemarketing, and that's just not what we're doing. We're a blessing to people. We're calling, helping people through difficult situations, and you want to sound like a person talking with a person. The guy around the corner is what you really want to sound like, right? So that's why I sound like the anti-telemarketer, where I'm like, hey, I hope I have the right phone number. Is this John? Or this isn't John, is it? And they're going to say, yeah, who's this? And I'll say, hey, well, my name's Chris. I was calling about a property I believe you own at 123 Main Street. And he says, okay, what about it? And you're going to say, well, I'm a local home buyer in the area, and I recently bought a few properties, and just wanted to see if you'd be open to a cash offer on your property there, right? So what did I do there, right? Less than 7 seconds, I said who I was, how I can help him, and the reason for my call, right? So those 3 things I got out of the way. And at that point, he can either tell me yes or no, okay? So if he says yes, then I want to tell him a little bit more about what the type of offer he could expect, right? So a lot of these sellers are thinking, oh, this guy's going to, Zillow says my house is worth 500,000, so he's going to give me 500,000. So when I set the tone of the type of offer he can expect, it realigns his expectations and says, okay, it's going to be that type of an offer. Okay, good. So I'll say, okay, great. Okay. We purchase properties cash. We pay all the closing costs. There are no real estate commissions. And the best part is we buy them completely as is. So you don't have to put another cent in the property. So for an offer like that, how much would you take? So I'm not going to come out with an offer. I'm going to ask him, how much would he take for the offer? Or how much would he take for his house? Right. And I want him to tell me a number first, because chances are the number that I'm going to come out with could be higher than the number that he's going to come out with. So that's my first shot, right? I want to see, can I get a number out of him first, right? And sometimes they're going to say, I don't know. You called me. This is what a lot of people are going to say. They're going to say, well, I don't have a number. You called me. And at that point, what you're going to say is you're like, I understand. But there's a lot of people that have a lot of sellers that I talk to, they have a magic number in the back of their mind that they're thinking of, that if they could get that amount of money today, they'd sign today. So do you have a number like that in the back of your mind? And they're going to say, well, if I could get, 150,000, right, I'd consider selling today. Great. So I can get a better idea of the condition of the property. Mind if I ask some questions, right? And they're going to say, sure, go ahead and ask me the questions. Now, a couple of things, going back to the bridge statement that I made before, the type of offer. Hey, we purchase properties cash. We pay all the closing costs. There are no real estate commissions. And the best part is we're going to buy it as is. You don't even have to broom sweep this house at all. You can just take what you want, leave the rest. For an offer like that, how much would you take, right? So it kind of gives them an idea of the type of offer that they're going to get, right? And so from there, I ask the question to dig a little bit deeper for the price. If they're like, well, you called me, right? You tell me. And if I can't get it there, then there's one more thing that you can ask sellers. You can say, well, let me ask you, do you have like a ballpark range of where you'd like to be? And so at that point, they're like, okay, well, if I could be somewhere between 150 and 160, I think we could move forward. Okay, perfect. So I can get a better idea of the property, condition of the property. Mind if I ask some questions? Sure. Right. And they say, what type of questions? You're going to say, questions about the condition of the property, like I just said, right? And they're like, oh, okay. To move on. He who gives the number first loses. Absolutely. I agree with this wholeheartedly, right? Great question, or great comment there, Aaron. Because a lot of times I've had it to where I've actually given the number first, and they're like, that's fantastic. You gave me 150. I was actually thinking 125. And I'm like, oh. And then I kick myself, and then I'm like, great, that's fantastic. I'm glad I could help you, But yeah, so that's exactly why you want to try and get the number out of them first. And then from there, you can ask a few different ways so you can get that, get a number if they're not giving you the first time. A lot of times, guys, you can get the answer you're looking for if you ask the same question 2 to 3 different times, just different ways, right? Because people think differently, and people may have an issue with you. I'll give you an example. Right? Let's say you want to know how much the seller owes on their mortgage. Okay. And let's say you come right out and you say, hey, how much you owe on your mortgage? So they're like, that's none of your business. Like, oh, okay. Well, let me ask you, how much are you hoping to get for the house? Well, I'm looking to get 150,000. Okay. So tell me more about the 150,000. Why 150,000? Well, I owe 125,000 on my mortgage, and I need 25,000 to walk away. So yeah, that's probably why. They told me a second ago they weren't going to tell me how much their mortgage is, and they just come out and tell me because I ask them a different way. So that is the power of asking the same question multiple different ways till you get the same answer. You only want to do this like 2 or 3 times, because if you do it any more than 2 or 3 times, then what's going to happen is they're going to get frustrated with you and it's going to be annoying. So you don't want to be annoying. You just want to fish around a little bit, see if you can get it. If you can't, that's okay. Steve said, is it stupid to say I pay all the closing costs? No, not at all. All I'm doing there, guys, doesn't even have to be word for word. I actually learned that part from Brent Daniels. But every wholesaler does the same thing, right? We cover all the closing costs. We buy as is. There's no realtor commissions, right? So it's really important that you just hit those main points. You don't even have to say it exactly how I say it there. It's just, hitting those main points. Oh yeah. So Mr. Seller, fantastic. Glad you're considering a cash offer on your property. Just to let you know the type of cash offer it could be. We cover all the closing costs, right? So you're not going to pay any closing costs there. No realtor commissions. We take the property as is. So you don't have to clean the property before we were to buy it. So if we were going to take the property as is in the condition it's in now, without you lifting a finger, where you could take what you want and leave the rest, what type of cash offer are you thinking? Right? Or what type of number would work for you, right? So this guy, Fred says, not always a honest opinion, depending on the situation. They don't give a number. I'll throw out a no type offer as a starting point, saying it'll be based upon condition. Could you expand on that? I'd love to hear what your thoughts are there. I think I know where you're going with that, but I'd like you to expand on that a little bit. That'd be great.
I had now this was an in-person deal, but I had a situation once where I wouldn't give a number and they wouldn't give a number. So eventually we just wrote the numbers on our hands. And at the count of 3, we went like that.
And you just pray yours is lower.
We met in the middle. We said, okay. Let's split the difference. Because we're like $5,000 apart or something. So we just split it, but it was funny.
I love that. Yeah, guys, it's good to be creative, because a lot of times, like, you'll go round and round and round and round with sellers, and they won't tell you, and you could do something creative like that, and it makes them laugh, you laugh, and you get the deal, right? So everybody wins. So,
but that goes back to the, like you said, about starting, being friendly, smiling, building that, like having them like you. Because if you come across like a telemarketer, like you're calling from a big company, or we buy 600 houses a month and blah, blah, and do all that, then they're naturally going to resist you. Like, I don't want to be sold. But if you go into, hey, I'm a local guy, I bought a house down the street, blah, 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 then they're more like, this guy's like me, right? Yeah. I buy a couple houses here and there, saw your house, thought it'd be, then they want to deal with you. But as soon as you start acting like too big for your britches, right? Mm-hmm. Oh, we do this and we do that. And then they don't want to share anything with you.
Absolutely, because you're making it about you and not about them. And these calls are not about you at all. It's all about them, right? You're giving them a framework of the type of buyer you are, so they can understand where you're coming from, and you can, make it, you can see if there can be a meeting of the minds on price. But at the end of the day, you want to, like Dave said, avoid being that huge investor, right? People don't want to deal with those types of companies. So, because the biggest thing is they're thinking, oh, you're a big company, you'll probably pull one over on me, right? So that's their big thing, right? So, and man, Pat brought up a really good point there. They're going to want a heck of a lot more if they think you're from a company buying 600 homes a month.
Right. They think you're a big hedge fund or something, right? They're not going to want to do it. But that's why I always say, you know what, I'm local, I'm dealing with another seller in the area, and I came across your property, right?
100%.
Right.
No, 100%. That's exactly what you want to do. So at that point, so what we've done so far is we've given our intro, right? We've captured who we are within the 7 seconds, the reason we're calling and how we can help them, right? And then from there, we've given them a little framework of what they can expect as far as the type of offer from us. We fished for an offer from them. We're able to get it, weren't able to get it. Either way, we still move on, follow the same process. And now we're wanting to drill down a little bit deeper on the condition of the property. So this part is probably my favorite part, right? Because this is where the money is made, right? And what we like to do is we like to get the 4 pillars of motivation. And guys, you want to get this on every single call that you have, okay? And if you've ever made an offer to a seller and that seller did not accept that offer, right? Chances are there's a possibility, right? Not every time. There's a possibility you missed one of the 4 pillars of motivation, and you didn't spend enough time in one area to be able to recommend the right solution, right? So, So let's see. Steve says, Dave, you can go ahead and read that if you want.
All right. What do you mean by all closing costs? Are you talking about the owner, title insurance, and all kind of closing costs related to the title, or other fee? No commission. And okay, but in my opinion, all other costs should be the same with a regular deal. You need to consider the end buyer's perspective. End buyer need to pay the owner, title insurance, and all costs related with the title, and etc.
Yeah. So in a wholesale transaction, right, we're buying these deals from sellers. We're buying these deals from sellers. What we call net to seller, meaning the buyer pays all the closing costs. So the buyer is going to pay all the seller closing costs and the buyer's closing costs. Now, when a property is being sold, unless there's a loan involved, the majority of the closing costs are going to be on the seller's side, right? So very small amount of closing costs on the buyer side. Costs are all in around 3%, right? Typically. Maybe even more for certain title companies. But if a seller says, well, what do you mean all the closing costs? They answer a question like that. You say, yeah, typically closing costs are usually 3% of the sale. So that's a huge savings, where normally if you were going to go through the traditional route and to sell your property through a realtor, you'd have to pay realtor commissions. You can say that's anywhere from 3 to 6% if you want. From there, you're gonna have to pay closing costs, which is usually about 1.5%, 3%, whatever you want to say, right? And then on top of that, you're usually also going to have what are called concessions. So concessions are where someone agrees to buy your property, right? But then after inspection period, they come back saying, oh, I'm going to need $15,000 off because I'm going to need a new roof on there before we close. And you're going to have to front that in order for me to continue to move forward, right? So there's a lot of benefits for sellers working with investors like us because, again, we cover all the closing costs. And again, we're buying the property as is, so you don't have to worry about putting another cent into the property. So we make it really easy. Does that make sense? And they're going to say, "Oh, okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense."
What I even bring up, and depending on where you're at in the municipality, I even, on my deals, I even say, we'll cover the, the city inspection, getting the certificate of occupancy and all that stuff, because, if you have the inspection done, and if you're going to put it on the MLS, it doesn't get, the sale doesn't go through, you're still responsible for all those repairs. So
100%.
Buying it as an investor, we're just going to assume all those repairs, and you don't have to worry about doing that with the city.
This is where it comes into local market knowledge, guys. Local market knowledge. So even if you're virtual, right, and you're wholesaling in another state, it helps to know these things, and you can only start to learn these things by doing this with time, right? Now, Steve said, what about other liens? So this is something that tripped me up a lot when I first got started, okay? So let me share with you how this works. So what we do in our contract, at least, it says that we're purchasing the property cash, and we want free and marketable title, or free and clear title, free and clear of any liens and encumbrances, right? A lien is just another type of loan against the property that is owed that needs to be satisfied at closing. So the seller is responsible for that, right? So if the seller owes like a code enforcement lien, right? They have like $5,000 they owe because their property wasn't up to code and they got a lot of fines, racked up $5,000. Then we tell the sellers that needs to be satisfied at closing. So that comes out of your share that you're going to get, right? An encumbrance is just something that clouds the title to make it where there can't be a clear transfer from current seller or current property owner to end buyer, right? There's going to be like an exception, like, yeah, you have title, but there's going to be this one thing against the property that's always going to be there unless you can clear it up, right? So what we want, and our commitment to our buyers, is to provide a great product. And a great product is a property that's free and clear of any liens and encumbrances, right? And so whatever amount the seller owes for a lien, so let's say they have a solar lien or a utility lien or something like that. Let's say their mortgage balance is 150 and the lien is 10,000. They need to get at least 160 just to break even. All right. And then seller is also responsible for prorated taxes. This is something that not a lot of people know about. Getting started, sellers are also responsible for prorated taxes. So they're responsible for the taxes from them owning the property up until the time that they sell it, right? We've had some sellers be like, oh, wait a second, you're buying the property. You said you cover all the closing costs. I'm not going to, you're going to need to pay my taxes too. And we say, well, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, we can't pay property taxes on a property that we didn't own, right? So you're going to pay those taxes up to the point when you own the property, and then we're taking care of it from there, right? So the buyers are going to pay the prorated taxes, traditional closing costs, and if the buyer has any any lender fees because they're using hard money like an investor mortgage. They'd have to cover those as well. Would you purchase a home for buy and hold just under retail value if it needs cleaning and maybe put in shower tiles? Home's 100% equity. I mean, there's a lot that's missing from that question. There's a lot more details that I would need, right? Just under retail value, like we're investors, right? We're wholesalers. And so I would never purchase anything at retail value or even close to retail value. Even if there was creative terms where I was getting the property for like taking over the seller's mortgage or something like that. I don't do much of that stuff. I mainly wholesale, but I'm just saying, even in that situation, there's a lot of ways you can get in trouble by taking over a property at full market value, right? Yes, properties appreciate and all that, but to always make sure that you're making good buying decisions, you want to buy at wholesale at any given point in time, right? So, okay. So the 4 pillars of motivation, let's hit on that, right? So let's talk about what those are. The first pillar of motivation is price. How much does the seller want for the price? Okay. The second pillar of motivation is timeline. When is the seller looking to sell, right? The third pillar is motivation. Why are they looking to sell? And the last one is condition. Okay. So the most important one, can anyone guess what the most important one of those 4 is? I'd like you to drop a comment so I can hear what your guys' thoughts are, and then I'll share with you which one it is. But go ahead and drop a comment. Which one is the most important out of those 4? Is it price, timeline, motivation, or condition? Which one of those 4 is the most important? And I'll go ahead and give you my thoughts.
I feel like it's a trick question. You're gonna zing us. We're gonna say price, and you're gonna go, you would think, but it's not, you know.
It's actually none of them. No.
It's E.
Yeah, exactly. It's the 5th one. No, just kidding. Gotta have some fun, right? Okay, so we got a lot of people here commenting. Love all this. God, love this engagement. It's great. Motivation. We have price. We have motivation. Timeline. Motivation. Timeline. Motivation. Without motivation, you have nothing. Motivation. Motivation. We got an O.
Oh.
You tricked us. No, there's not a 5th one, guys. I'm just kidding. There's only 4. All right. So I'm going to great stuff, guys. Great stuff. And you know what? Any of these that you guys have shared could be rationalized as being the most important, right? But in my personal opinion, okay, and just my experience, motivation is the absolute most important one. And most wholesalers starting out, they spend the least amount of time on that. They're all about the price. Yeah. They're like, oh, I didn't get the price, the price, the price. The price doesn't matter as long as you have motivation, because you can always back into the price, right? So if you can really connect with the seller on their burning why, the reason they want to sell their property, okay, that is where the money is. Because when they give you pushback later on your offer, okay, what you want to do is bring it back to the motivation. Well, Mr. Seller, I understand that you're saying that doesn't work for you, but you know, you said that the house, repairs are stacking at the house. You know, it's just getting you further and further in debt, and you know, you're looking to move up north and to be with your kids because they just had a new grandbaby, and this house is stressful. There's mold in the house. You said it's terrible for your health and everything like that. Let's get you out of this. So where would you need to be? Like, how close to my number can you get, right? And then you kind of back into the conversation like that. But my point is, guys, is motivation is the one you want to spend the most of your time with. And we actually have a statistic in our team that if you don't spend 36 minutes on the phone with the seller, okay, then that's not a great call, okay? 36 minutes. And that is after you got the information, okay? Meaning you got the price, timeline, motivation, condition, you got all that, right? And you're going back to make the offer and you're kind of reconfirming those things, right? So 36 minutes is a great call. Anything less than 36 minutes, you didn't spend enough time with the seller, okay? There are people that say, "Oh, I fling out offers in 10 minutes on the call." You're gonna most of the time your offer is going to be denied, right? 36 minutes is a great time to be on the phone with the seller, really digging in, build a little rapport, but really you're asking a lot of questions around the motivation. Okay, so let's talk about that. I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. All right. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to ask them, how much are you hoping to get for your house? Right? That's the very first thing. How much are you hoping to get for it? right? Notice hope. How much are you hoping to get for the house? From there, what they will do, what they'll do is they're like, well, if I could get 150,000, I'd be happy. Okay, so you got that. Great, right? So then you go down to timeline, right? How long have you been thinking about selling? Well, I've been thinking about selling here for the last couple of years. Great. So if we could agree on a price today, would you be open to selling here within the next 90 days? Yeah, I would. Okay, great. Right. So immediately there's two things you can do to quality check this lead. Okay. If the seller's asking within $10,000 of 80% of his estimate, I'll repeat that again, within $10,000 of 80% of his estimate. So let's say his estimate's 100,000. So if that seller's asking 80 to 90K, that's a first checkbox where that could possibly be a motivated seller, right? The second thing, again, if the seller's willing to sell within 90 days, checkbox number 2, that is smoking hot, right? That seller is going to give you a motivating circumstance to sell, okay? So after you get those two out of the way, okay, the next thing you want to find out is, hey, let me ask you, have you done any remodeling the kitchen and bathrooms in the last 5 years? Okay, so that is the condition, right? You're going to ask them about the condition. And what that'll tell you, if they've done any remodeling, that tells you what condition the property's in, right? And how much work they've put into it. And you also want to get the age of the big ticket items like the roof, AC, electrical, and plumbing, okay? See if there's any issues there. Always really good to know because those things can affect the price, like affect your offer like no other, right? And then from there, once you have those 4 things, and then the last one, like I said, is motivation. So you want to dig into the deep why they're selling. So some sellers will tell you a reason why, but like Steve says here, sometimes you don't know the motivation, right? The seller will say, oh, I just want to sell because I'm looking to move, right? So that's when you got to be a little bit of a detective and say, interesting, you're looking to move. Where are you looking to move to? I'm like, oh, I'm looking to move to North Carolina. Oh, wow, you're in Florida here and you want to move to North Carolina? Tell me about that. What do you got going up? What do you got going on in North Carolina? Right? She's like, well, and that's where the motivation comes in right there, right? They're going to say, well, I bought a house up there. I want to be closer to my kids. So I'm paying 2 mortgages right now. And it's a really big headache. And there's repairs that need to be done this. I don't want to have a realtor come through the property because I don't trust those realtors. I'm going to have to pay commissions and all these things. And that's where they'll start to unload. So what we tell all of our guys on our team and what we tell all of our coaching clients is you want to find out the motivation behind the motivation, all right? Because sellers will give you motivation up front, right? They'll say, yeah, I want to move. Okay, most wholesalers will stop there. Oh, okay, you want to move. Oh, I totally understand how hectic it's got to be to want to move. And yeah, so let's get you out of there. So how much are you hoping to get for the house? And they just go right into that and they miss the huge opportunity. So what you want to do is be like, really? What's got you wanting to move?
Yeah. You have to dig deeper than that, right? Because most, like you said, most wholesalers will just blow by it, right? Oh, yeah, I want to move, right? But oh, yeah, why? Oh, yeah, why? You got to keep digging. 100%.
Because here's the thing. If you don't dig deep enough there, and this is where the 36 minutes really comes into play, the bulk of that time is spent right here. If you don't dig deep enough, you're not going to know the exact reason why they want to sell. And so when you're going to make an offer, literally, I want you to picture throwing bologna against the wall, seeing if it sticks, right? Because that's exactly what you're doing. You're playing darts in the dark with a blindfold on. You have no idea the type of offer to make, especially if they won't even tell you how much they want for the property. You're not going to be able to make a solid offer, right? So what you really want to do is you want to find out, again, the reason behind the reason. So they're going to tell you a reason why. You're going to be like, great, tell me about that. What's got you wanting to move? If he says, this house has gotten to be a lot to keep up with, most wholesalers would take that for face value. Okay, so he's a hard time keeping up his house, right? But there's so much more you can drill into right there. Okay, tell me about that. So, so there's, you're having a hard time keeping up the house. The house you want to take care of. Tell me about that. What's been the biggest struggle for you, right? And then what you want to do is you kind of want to put the knife in and twist a little bit, right? What do I mean by that? They're going to be like, yeah, well, I got this this roof here that's got a leak, and as you know, it's hurricane season's coming here in Florida, and I'm really just worried that too much water is going to go in the back room, cause mold. This is where you twist a little bit. I totally understand your concern there. That sounds like it's a really big headache. You got a roof that's toward the end of its life. You don't want to get water in your property there. That could cause a lot of damage. And, that's, and then that can lead to mold and all that. So I totally understand you want to get that fixed right away. Tell me, why don't you fix that right now? Oh, well, I don't have the money to do it. Got it. Okay. So just to be clear, you have a property where the roof's toward the end of its life, water's coming into your property. There could be a potential mold situation there. That's not going to be good for you to live in, very healthy, right? You're looking to get out of there and move as soon as possible, right? Yeah, I am. Okay, great. And that's where you can kind of go in and then go through the other questions and then get them an offer. But again, it's spending time where it counts, right? Don't spend the most of your time on the price. Spend the most of your time on motivation. The price will take care of itself. Okay. So
yeah, a lot of times and I've had a lot of sellers that are, in the beginning, they're unreasonable on price. So they want more, but when you go through and talk about all the motivations, and then you go through and talk about the conditions, right? And those in combination, I know you're going to get into condition, but it's, then you can justify your price, right? If you know all those things, you take that time to look at the motivation and find out why they're selling. Then you can take the condition and all that and back into the price, right? And then they understand that. They go, oh, okay, I get why your price is lower than the crazy number that I had in my mind.
100%. And sometimes sellers will even piggyback it on that, Dave. Sometimes sellers will be like, well, my neighbor's house, that just sold for X, Y, and Z. That's like the favorite they go to, right? Or the Zillow says, or my neighbor
that
says.
House down the street, they sold that for $600,000.
Oh, the one that's like 500 square foot bigger than your property and was like fully remodeled. That property? Right. Oh, okay. I get it. Yeah. So, if seller says something like that, they're like, oh, well, the house across the street, the house across the street sold for X, Y, and Z. Really? Tell me about that. Do you know the condition of that property? Oh, no, I don't. But I think the last owner put a lot of money into it. Oh, okay. So that wasn't the same condition of your property at all. No, it wasn't. Okay. Yeah. So, you probably could get that if you were to put that type of money into the property, but you're not looking to do that, are you? No, I'm not. Okay, great. It's like, that's settled. So let's move on. So,
but I think sometimes they just need to hear that, right?
Yeah.
It's like people, perception is reality, right? If they've got no other information, they perceive a number in their head, and that's what it's worth. But when you go and talk about that house has a brand new driveway, has a brand new roof, it's been totally remodeled, new kitchen, it's got granite, it's got, and your house doesn't, that's, $80,000, $100,000 in renovations they did to that house to get it up to that number. And your house needs those things. So it's not apples to apples.
No, 100%. And then another strategy that you could do too, guys, is let's say there's a property right around the corner from that. Okay. And you can use this. You can look up the property on Zillow, PropStream, whatever service you want to use. And let's say there's a property that sold for a really low amount, right? You can always anchor with that. Say, hey, I'm looking around the area here and I saw this property here. This sold for like 80,000. So you're not really giving an offer, but you're testing the waters a little bit. You're like, yeah, this one around the corner here I saw sold for 80,000, and then prepare for what's going to happen next. That seller's like, oh, that property, that guy, he didn't take care of his house. He had tenants in there and they destroyed it, and he wanted to sell it as is. And my property's not anywhere in condition. Oh, okay. I didn't say that was my offer. I'm just saying I saw this other property around the corner sold for 80,000, and that can kind of give you a pressure test of how close they could possibly even to that. Right. But, Aaron says over here, wish I knew this information early on. Would have made it easier when I first started out of the gate. Yeah, no, 100%. That's my passion and Dave's passion here, guys. It's giving you this info so you can make things easier right out of the gate for those of you who are starting. And even people that are seasoned, like a lot of people are not doing this, right? And if you have a team, they're not following up with their team to make sure their team is doing this, right? So this isn't just for newbies. This is something that can be used at any time of your real estate journey. I don't know if you guys are football fans. I like it on a social level. That's it, pretty much. I don't like to follow the games. Don't ask me who my favorite team is, but I like the competitive aspect of it, right? So there was a coach famous coach of the Green Bay Packers, Vince Lombardi. And, he brought his team together, the Green Bay Packers, one day, and he said, guys, this is a football, right? So you can't forget the basics. They were expecting, some advanced new player strategy. But at the end of the day, he reminded them that it's the foundation that matters most. And you got to constantly remember that, because the more advanced we get learning these new advanced techniques and strategies and these tools and all that stuff, it's easy to get away from the foundation. And I don't know if you guys have noticed this. I've noticed this in my own personal journey, but the further you get away from the foundation, right, the lower that your results start to get, right? Or the worse your conversations go, the fewer the contracts that you get and the less money you make. The more that you can hug the foundation, right, and really focus on that and always remind yourself of that, the more money that you're going to make and the better that you're going to do.
I've been in sales my whole life. I sold industrial equipment. I've sold real estate. I've sold mortgages. And I'm telling everybody on here, the times in my life where I said, in sales careers, I said, I'm going to remove everything that doesn't result in a sale and not do it, and just talk to people. Just talk to people. Forget the AI, forget this, forget, which CRM am I going to use? I'm going to spend a week deciding on which CRM I should use and all that garbage, and just pick up the phone and start making calls, and don't worry about anything else.
100%. That is so powerful, man. Like starting every day with like a money producing activity, right?
Yeah.
MPA, right? Or my IPAs, right? What are my income producing activities? So if this thing I'm about to do right now doesn't result in income, I'm not going to do it first, and I won't do anything else until I make money first. Right?
When I was in the mortgage business, if I had any task that didn't result in me getting a mortgage, I'd go find somebody else to give it to. I'd give it to the receptionist, or I'd give it to another loan officer. I'd say, hey, can you handle this for me? I can't do it right now, right? And I just give it away. But you've got to focus on just the core, right? Making calls, making offers, closing deals, right? And that's it.
A lot of people will say, well, Chris, cold calling, that's such an old strategy. There's so many new things you can do today with technology in the future and all that stuff. And my response is this: it works. There's the reason people have been doing it for so long. It's not an old, outdated strategy. But I love for people to think about that, because then they get away from that. They get all confused with not making money on these other strategies, and then they're like, okay, maybe I need to come back to what actually works, right?
Why people focus on the the CRMs with the follow-up systems and the AI and all that stuff, is because they're just scared to make the calls. Right. So they're like, I'm going to find the magic solution to this magic potion that's going to get me deals. And guys, I'm telling you, I've been at this 10 years. There's no magic formula other than just doing the work, other than just getting on the calls and making the calls.
Yep. Hang tight. I'm gonna grab something real quick.
Okay.
It's all about this right here, guys. Making the call.
Love it.
Making the call. So I pulled this out at an event that I spoke at, and people died over it. It was funny. But yeah, it's all about picking up the phone and making calls, guys. That's what it's all about, is keeping it simple, making the calls, right? So let's see here. Okay, cool. So let's talk about the final steps of the script, and then I'd love to answer questions here, save some time to answer questions. So the last step of the script is you're going to be getting all the those questions answered, right? And then from there, if you're closing virtual, meaning you're going to be doing the deal in another big bona fide phone, exactly. Boom, right there. If you're going to be doing the deal virtually, then the next step right there is saying, thanks for your time today. I appreciate it. It sounds like it might be a good fit for us. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and crunch some numbers here, and I'll give you a call back. Are you going to be in front of your computer here in the next 30 minutes, right? Or the next hour, however long it takes you to run comps on a property, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour, right? From there, you want to tell them that. They're going to say, yeah, I'll be in front. Great. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a call back here shortly with an offer, and I'll talk to you soon. Great. So you want to find out they're going to be in front of their computer. That's important, because that means, guess what? They can sign a contract. So if they're not, you want to find out when they're going to be in front of their computer. And if you're closing in person, right? I recommend virtual. But the other way you can handle that is say, thanks for your time. Sounds like it might be a good fit for us. When's the soonest time we can come out and take a look at it? The reason why I don't like physical in-person wholesaling is because you can waste a lot of time, right? You can have sellers will say, yeah, come on, look at it on Friday. And they won't tell you they have 10 other people come to look at the property. You show up and you're like, oh, I thought I was just going to be here, right? And then you drive the property, then you drive home and all that stuff. It just takes up a lot of time. So virtual is what I love because there's nothing standing between you and that seller and getting the contract accepted outside of setting aside some time to review it together and seeing if it's a yes. That's it, right? Okay. Yeah, so that's what I have for you today. What I'd love to do is answer some of your guys' questions, right? So we walked through my script and how to frame the call. We've talked about, the launch plan, the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, making calls. We've talked about having the right tone, right? Positive and upbeat sounding. The script is a guide going through. We talked about having a mirror in front of you. So when you're making calls, you're smiling, then you can dial, right? All those things will help, right? I've listened to thousands of phone calls from my reps on my team that make calls. And what I can tell you, the 3 biggest things that I see that trip people up, right, or cause people to not get results versus the people to get results is people that don't have a good tone. They don't sound very exciting or inviting on the phone. They're not smiling while they're dialing, and they don't have a proven process they can follow for every single call. If you have those 3 things, you can be unstoppable. So let's open it up for questions.
What phone system are you using, Chris?
So what I recommend using, guys, is if you're going to be cold calling, I'd recommend using a dialer. So the dialer that we use is actually called a batch dialer. And what I can do is I can put a link here in the comments. And basically what I'll do is give you 50% off your first month and a 7-day free trial. So I'll pop that in there. Boom.
There you go.
So you can get, so you can get that. So that's the dialer that we use. Outside of that, if let's say you're just not in a financial position where you can afford a dialer, right? I think this one's like $139 a month. You can use Google Voice and call people, right? That can be a great tool to use to be able to call sellers back. Because even when our team is on the dialer, right, we don't call sellers back on the dialer. We use the dialer to get leads, right? And then we call them back on another phone line. So that could be Google Voice, it could be smartphone, it could be Vumber, it could be any other type of number that you want to use. But the big reason why we like a dialer is because you can get through a lot of leads very quickly, talk to a lot of sellers, right? In a 20-hour week. So if you're working, 20 hours a week making calls, you can make 5,000 calls. So it's a lot of freaking calls, right? And it's much easier. But I typically recommend people when they're starting out to cold call anywhere from 2-3 hours a day.
Yeah, and you guys, if you want to use Google Voice or something like that, if you haven't used it before, Google Voice has a app that you put on your phone, so you can use it just like a regular phone. So it's not like you have to get online and get on Google and do all that. It's just an app that you put on your phone.
Yep. So I'll actually drop one more link in here for you. So this is where I get my seller leads. We use PropStream, so getpropstreamnow.com. You can do that. And that's where we pull all of our lists from. There's some great lists in there, guys. There's tired landlords that have owned properties for 15 years or more. You have senior owners, people have owned properties for 30 years or more, right? You have all the motivateds like divorce, delinquent tax, probate, vacant, all those are offered in there. And as far as how many calls an hour, well, let's see, I can tell you. So if you do, my guys on average dial 5,000 dials a week on a 20-hour work week. So 5,000 divided by 5 days a week, divided by 4 hours a day, you're looking at about 250 calls an hour. That's what a dialer can do.
Yeah, and I'll explain that to us, because you're getting a lot of voicemail, you're getting a lot of you got the wrong number, even if it is a wrong number or not. So in that window, how many people are you really getting on the phone?
Yeah, so you want to on average reach about 10% of the people that you call. That's kind of like a benchmark of what you want to do. But what we find is if you have a list, so let's say you have a list of 10,000 records on that list, right? 1% of those are going to turn into sellers that want to sell their property. So 1% of 10,000 is what, like 100, I believe. That's 100 leads you should get off a list of 10,000. So roughly that's, the more you qualify those leads, like again, if like you only want leads or sellers want to sell within 90 days, are asking 80% of his estimate, that's going to shrink down that number of leads. But again, 1% of your list should turn into leads.
Steve wants the secret sauce now.
The secret sauce. Okay.
Which filters are you using?
Yeah. So this is something that we'll definitely go over in another call, and I can drill down more. But something I'll just give you a quick tip here. Guys, a really motivated list of sellers is sellers that are absentee owners. So give you an example. These sellers are landlords. They own rental properties, okay? The property is individually owned, so it's not in a corporation, right? So not in an LLC. It's just they're the individual owner of that property. They live out of state. Their property is vacant, and they're facing foreclosure. That is a huge, huge motivated list, because you have an owner who lives in another state, right? He has a rental property that maybe used to be his house, but he's since moved long gone. There's no tenant in there that's supposed to be making him money. It's not. The property's vacant, so the last tenant probably trashed it, and he's facing foreclosure. How much do you think he's going to want to get rid of that property, right? Yes, right. I'm going to share the script. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get Dave a link that he's going to send out with an email that I'll follow up with our call today, and then you can get the script right there. So
yeah, everybody that registered for the call will get the script.
100%. Yep. Awesome. What other questions you guys have?
Yeah, you guys didn't get anything else? This is the man to ask if it's about virtual wholesaling.
Right here.
This guy knows. This guy knows. Chris, let's talk about, like, if somebody wants to take this a step further and have you do some one-on-one coaching with them or get into your mentorship program.
Sure. Yeah. So guys, if you've liked what you've heard today and you felt, man, this sounds easy for me to implement, right? Like maybe you just felt like that you've connected with the way that we reach out to sellers and you'd want to dive deeper. What I recommend is that you apply for coaching. So you can go to virtualwholesalingmadesimple.com. Again, that's virtualwholesalingmadesimple.com. And you can apply for coaching. I want you to be detailed in your responses, because I don't take on everybody because of capacity, right? But if I like what you have to say, I'll consider bringing you on. And it's very important that there's a spot in the form that says, how did you hear about us, right? I want you to make sure you put, Dave, what would you like? A wholesaler's toolbox or your name?
It don't matter to me as long as you know it's from me.
Yeah. So you could put so in there. Make sure you put wholesalers toolbox or wholesaling partners, either one, right?
David,
wholesaling partners. Let's do that. Yeah. Do wholesaling partners, and that way I'll know you came from David, because I have a special gift that I give people that sign up that come from David. So go to virtualwholesalingmadesimple.com, fill out the form, and I'll look forward to connecting with you to see if coaching is a good fit.
All right, let's see. I'm sure Chris has some, but we have contracts in wholesaling partners.
Dave's got you covered there for that.
In the free resource section. I've got contracts, and I have explainer videos on each contract, when to use them, how to fill them out, anything you want to know about them. So my.wholesalingpartners.com, sign up, and then go into the free resource tab.
Yep. No, you don't. No, you don't. So you don't need a website. That's the big thing. Like when you're first getting started, guys, like you don't need a website. You really don't. Like I went my first year and a half in the business, almost 2 years without a website. So you don't need a website. Again, I want you guys to focus on the things that are going to make you money, and a website is not one of those things, because a website can actually work against you in the beginning when you're wholesaling, because you may make some mistakes. There's a chance you may make a seller upset or two, and you just don't want your Google Places thing claimed and your website and your Facebook page where they can leave review. You don't want that, right? Because if you make mistakes, then people just take to their keyboards, and it's just not good.
Get a dozen deals or better under your belt before you even start worrying about that. Honestly,
you don't need it. Remember, you don't want to come across as this big established huge company anyway, right? I recommend when you're cold calling sellers that if they say what company you with, say I'm just a guy, right? I'm just a guy. I'm just a local home buyer. Like I'm not with a big company or anything like that. I'm just a local home buyer. Because it actually would work against you if you tell them also that you're.
I was wildly successful when I started wholesaling, like right out of the gate, and I didn't even have a business card.
Yeah.
Right? I just wrote my number down on a napkin and give it to people. Right? You don't need it. You don't need it.
Yep. What someone said something here. Oh, no, this is good here. Go ahead, Dave.
Oh, I'm in Houston. So how do I virtual wholesale in my backyard? Because Austin Metroplex market is high.
Yeah. So I'm in the Tampa Bay market and I virtual wholesale in my own backyard. So you can do the same thing where you are. Houston, I'm telling you, is a fantastic market. I love Houston. Houston's amazing. So you can most certainly virtual wholesale in your backyard. Really what you'd want to do is you'd want to hook up with a local realtor in the area that can take pictures of properties for you. And that's how you can get pictures of properties and kind of go from there and see what properties look like and do it all over the phone. You just have sellers sign over the phone. And again, if you'd like more to dive deeper on that, you can apply for coaching and I can go the ins and outs of our system and show you how it works.
Hot markets are great, guys. Don't worry about being in a hot market. That means a lot of people buying, right?
Yep.
Go out, get good at finding deals and you know, then you'll have people competing to buy them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. 100%. How are you finding the buyers, investors to purchase properties you're wholesaling?
So this is an easy one, actually. What I recommend is starting with Facebook groups, believe it or not. Some people will say, oh, there's terrible buyers in Facebook groups. Guys, we've had some of our best buyers come from Facebook groups, believe it or not. And so there's a lot of ways you can get buyers. I think Dave even has a training coming out soon with Privy where that'll show you how to get buyers. So you can get buyers like that. And then Facebook is a great free source of buyers to start to at the beginning.
Guys, in my wholesaling partners, starting Monday, April 1st, we're doing a 30-day cash buyer building challenge, cash buyer list building challenge. I tried to pick the longest name I could for it, but what we're going to build your list to 1,000 people in 30 days. So get in there, join the challenge, and you'll be the guy or lady in town with the biggest list. So everybody brings the deals to you. Okay.
Love that. Love that.
Aaron said he's wasted a lot of time building his own websites. Plus, PPC is saturated. PPC is expensive, guys. It's like you're going to be like in the 30-some buck a lead thing. It's just unless you're
in major markets that can be as high as 300 too, at $300-400.
You got unless you guys are your trust fund babies. Don't even worry about that. Right.
And another reason why too that you shouldn't start with PPC in the very beginning is because you're not going to be very good on the phone, right? So you don't want to pay for premium quality leads when you're not very good on the phone, and that's why cold calling is the best to start with.
And you waste a lot of money trying to figure out PPC ads, right? It's a high thing game. Does a website not make you seem more legit? You know, I had a few people in the beginning before I had websites or anything ask me, they say, do you have any any referrals or, any, people recommend you? And I would always refer them to my title company. I'd say, call my title company and they'll tell you that I'm closing deals, and they would, but that's legit. Like, they're like, yeah, David closes, 5 deals a month with us. Right. So they're like, okay, he's real. Okay.
Yeah. When a seller says, what's your website? That's I'm not going to do business with you, but I'm trying to be nice. So I'm going to ask you a question that gets you off the phone. Right. But if they're willing to call the title company, like Dave said, that's huge. A website doesn't sell. This will sell for you. A title company will sell for you.
Right. Okay. I'm going to pop this up here and shame Fred because I personally know him. Hey, Fred, don't promote yourself on our webinars. All right. Stop it, Fred. All right. Let's see. Aaron said, if y'all want a JV, I'm down. And that's what Wholesaling Partners is all about. So where'd you say you were at, Aaron? I forgot where he said he's at, but he said he'll be boots on the ground for you too, wherever he's at.
Boom. Love that.
Gil, we have a Wholesaling Partners community on Facebook, but the community I'm talking about is I'm going to throw the banner up real quick. Is right here. Go here and sign up. It's built on Mighty Networks. It's a private community. Go on there for the contracts. You can hop on down to the free resources and hop in there and download anything you want. But ton of great information, ton of great people in there. Chris is in there. I'm in there. Most of the people on this call are probably in there. So join today. Yep. It's free right now. It's free. So join. All right. What else we got here? Replay will be available. Yes. Fred said he was sorry. It's all right. All right. Oh, Aaron was in Houston. Yeah. So if you want to JV with somebody in Houston, partner up or need some boots on the ground or whatever, reach out to Aaron. And that's cool. All right. Let's see. Does your training show you how to find wholesaling friendly real estate attorneys, title companies? Where I am, I've heard attorneys say that wholesaling is illegal. Where are you at, Sonia? Just out of curiosity. There are some wholesaling laws popping up. Another reason we should get into the community because we're talking about that. And what if you're in a state that has.
I think she may have been asking about the coaching. Possibly.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Yeah. No. Yes, it does. So we cover that. We go over how to find a wholesaling friendly title company. We talk about how to find wholesale friendly attorneys. You want a real estate attorney for very specific reasons when it comes to protecting your position in the contract when it's needed. And we've gone through all those types of situations where sellers sign, they agree, and then from there they want to back out, right? But there's ways that you can prevent that from happening, and so it's good to have an attorney, and we walk through that.
Yeah, she's talking about she's in what's in Massachusetts. So
I think it's Massachusetts.
Yeah. So but I've got a title company in there. Chris can help you with that. Yeah, absolutely, we can do that. We can help you. Hope I'm not asking something I already answered. What advice would you have for setting up a team or a group of like-minded individuals to share strengths and help with weaknesses? I would say join Wholesaling Partners and find people in your state, and you can go in there. In the Wholesaling Partners, we have state groups, so you can go into your state group, find some people that have joined there, that are local to you. You can see who the members are. Find some local people and say, hey, you want to go out and grab some lunch? You want to start a meetup? You want to, market together? You want to do whatever? Just do it.
And by the way, Sonia, Massachusetts is an attorney state, so you wouldn't use a title company in that state. You would use an attorney, but wholesaling is not illegal in Massachusetts. So
it is not.
Raleigh, North Carolina, great territory. Love that. So yeah, guys, if you can join Dave's group, the Wholesaling Partners, and then again, if you'd like to take next steps with coaching and you're really looking to understand how to virtual wholesale and take next steps and start doing deals from home anywhere in the country, just go to virtualwholesalingmadesimple.com and apply, and I'll look forward to connecting with you.
All right. Good stuff, man. I like this call. This was a good call.
Yeah. No, I had a lot of fun on this one. And I always like talking about cold calling. It's one of my favorite things to talk about when it comes to real estate, because nothing puts you faster in touch with sellers than picking up the phone. So
yeah, cool. All right, guys, we'll talk to you all soon. Appreciate you coming, and see you in the group.
Talk soon, guys.
Bye, Chris.